One of the best things about Ohio State early in the season is how well the defense has played.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to a feel-good Friday edition of Locked On Buckeyes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, here on Friday, September 20th in the year 2024. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast, and today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Going into this season, everyone had a feeling that this was going to be a special year in Columbus. The players that decided to stay at Ohio State, the 7 transfers that decided to play football in Columbus this year, and the new coaches on the coaching staff, it just had a different feel leading into the 2024 season for the Buckeyes. Ryan Day has done a phenomenal job leading the Buckeye program. The players are playing very well. And one of the best things, or maybe the brightest spots about the team early in the year, is the Buckeyes defense. Held one team to a shutout, has not allowed a touchdown all year long. And this defense is ready and primed to chase eliteness. That's what Denzel Burke said. He said the defense right now was, quote, chasing eliteness, end quote. And when you make a statement like that, it must come from someone that understands what they're actually saying. If a youngster, a true freshman, came in here and said, yeah, man, we're chasing eliteness, it doesn't hit the same, and truly they may not understand the words coming out of their mouth. Now, if it is a seasoned vet like Denzel Burke or Sawyer or Tui Maloau or Simon, it's a little bit different. It hits different when one of those guys has been around for a while, or maybe a newcomer and Caleb Downs comes in, but you know the type of player that he is. If he says it, okay, it hits a little different. And Denzel Burke said that during a recent media availability session. And it surely seems like the Buckeyes are playing like they're chasing eliteness. Chasing eliteness isn't normal. And if you think about the Buckeyes in general in the past 20 years, they've had some really, really, really good defenses. From 2019 and even before that, the defenses have been, at times, elite. And for Denzel Burke right now, after game number 2, a couple days before game number 3 is played this year, for him to say the Buckeyes defense is chasing eliteness, that's going to make me pay more attention. That's going to make me look more closely and make me dive into and trying to look through a very, very specific microscope to figure out, hey, man, if you're chasing eliteness, if there are issues, we're going to point them out. We're going to talk about them. We're going to make sure that, hey, with our analysis, we're going to raise our standard for analysis because you guys are raising your standard of play. And I think that's what Denzel Burke understands. He understands people are going to look at Ohio State's defense a little bit differently because of the goals and what they're trying to do this year. But also, he's bringing on that criticism. Denzel Burke has been very vocal throughout the offseason and very specific with the things he said. And even I remember his freshman year when he spoke, it was like, oh, okay. He speaks with a level of intelligence, a level of understanding the nuances of the game and going a little bit deeper. I think that's why he's one of those cats that can say this statement and we believe it when he is saying it. Not only because he is saying it, but because the play on the field screams exactly what he said. Now, when it comes to this coming weekend, Marshall as a team is going to come in, and the numbers are a little skewed a little bit because you look at Marshall and you look at the stats. They have 6 passing touchdowns. That is skewed because they played an FCS opponent in Stony Brook. They threw 5 passing touchdowns in that game. They only threw 1 passing touchdown a couple weeks ago when they played Virginia Tech. So the numbers are a little skewed as far as how much Marshall might throw the ball. No, well, how good their passing attack is. They're going to throw the ball a lot. Threw the ball 36 times against Virginia Tech, 32 times against Stony Brook, had 290 passing yards against Stony Brook. So the numbers are a little bit more inflated because when they played a Power 5 opponent, they threw the ball 36 times. also at a 36% passing completion percentage. So keep that in mind. For the season, they're 50%, which still isn't great. 36% is atrocious. That's worse than Shaq at the free throw line. That's really, really bad, y'all. So when you know a team's going to throw the ball a lot, and Ohio State's going to put them in a situation to throw the ball a lot, Denzel Burke might have a pick six this weekend. Cody Simon might have a scoop and score. The defense might force 5 or 6 3-and-outs. One, yet that they're going to throw the ball, but they're not a prolific or an accurate team with throwing the football. So that plays in Ohio State's favor. But also, even if they were more, say, a 66 or 70% completion percentage type of team, your front, just the front four in general, and it does not matter if it's the starters or the backups, they're going to cause so much trouble, cause so many headaches for Marshall that when it comes to third and obvious, for passing the ball, or second and long, what's going to happen? You're going to find Ohio State might not blitz. They might just rush four because the front four can get it done. Now, what do we know about this team, though? They're going to blitz, and the blitz may not come from where you think it's going to come from. They may blitz the strong safety at the time that you least expect it. Hey, it's just Ohio State's defense. I don't think the Buckeyes are going to show everything that they want to do down the road on defense this weekend. However, I do expect the Buckeyes defense. They took a step forward from game number 1 to game number 2. And even though there was an off week, I believe the Buckeyes defense will take another step forward this weekend. I don't have Marshall scoring at all. Offense not scoring, defense not scoring. I will unveil my official score prediction later in the show, but I don't have Marshall scoring at all. I've been teetering back and forth, I will say this, between Ohio State scoring over 50 points or scoring under 50 points, because my gut is saying both are realistic. They could realistically score under 40, under 50, still score over 40, or they could score over 50. They could maybe, if you want to say, they could score 60. I don't know, but I do know this. This defense is ready to go. This defense is ready to take another step. And even though this is another Group of 5 school, the defense is going to treat them the same way. The Marshall Thundering Herd have the respect of Ohio State from Ryan Day to the players, and it's going to show up very clearly when the defense is on the field. When you have the attention of the defense, hey, watch out. They got the full respect of the defense. Y'all better watch out, because if you bring your A game might not be enough, and it shouldn't be enough. It will not be enough to overcome the Buckeyes defense this weekend. Trust me. I am watching this defense. I have high hopes for this defense, but I'm also going to raise my standard for said defense. If a defense is chasing eliteness, just different word than greatness, still kind of the same concept. One thing I know is the 2019 defense at Ohio State, really, 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 really good. One of the best defenses I've ever seen in my life was the 01 Hurricanes. And what are you going to know about that team? They showed up and showed out, and they made sure the other team felt them every single down. Well, I think this weekend, Ohio State's defense will do what is needed for the Marshall Thundering Herd to feel them every single down. So the fact that Marshall leaves the field and saying, oh, we saw on film how good they are, they're way better in person in a game than they were when we saw them on film. Speaking of things that you see on film, Marshall's head coach has a great respect for Ohio State. And with that, the Buckeyes built momentum from game number 1 to game number 2. And I believe they'll begin to build momentum in game number 3 this weekend against Marshall. This episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, y'all, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen every day. Denzel Burke saying that Ohio State is chasing eliteness is a big, bold statement that it's very clear that's actually happening when you watch the defense play. But also the Buckeyes team in general, overall, they're doing something right now coming off of an improvement week that is helping them continue to build momentum. You make changes, you alter certain things during the improvement week that will help you showcase how good you are on Saturday afternoon at 12 on Big Fox. And when you're building momentum, I think the mindset has to be exactly different than previous years at Ohio State. And I think you get that. Now, previous years at Columbus, the thought was we're getting better, we're getting better, and we're getting better. But you saw something differently with the mindset in some recent years at Ohio State saying, we know what we think y'all might be able to do, but something just doesn't feel right. Well, Ohio State's building momentum in the right way. And one thing that I think Ryan Day is going to continue to do all season long is just make changes. Maybe on the fly, in game, maybe throughout the week, between one game to the next, does not matter. Make changes. And one change we'll see this weekend is that both Jayden Ballard and Brandon Innis will both return kicks this weekend, which means Innis will return kickoffs. There's a narrative out there, and I believe the same thing, that Brandon Innis is a person that can return should return punts and kickoffs for Ohio State. Jayden Ballard, Ryan Day said JB needs to step up in the offseason. Ryan Day talked about Jayden Ballard this week during media availability. And so I think Jayden Ballard is one, he might be feeling the pressure, and it might just be too much pressure. I'm not sure. He's fast. We know he's quick. We know his skill set. But there are still things he is doing that are not up to par. And if that's the case, he needs to be removed. In come Brandon Innis. Now, there's other guys at Ohio State that can return kicks or punts. Kojo Antwi is one that I still think. Now, the problem is Innis is younger than him, so Innis is going to take that job over Antwi. But it still may be a time where Innis and Antwi are your top returners and kickoffs or punts down the road. Mylan Graham, a guy who came into Ohio State in the summer after playing basketball there at New Haven High School. Mylan Graham is one that's in the mix of guy that might return punts or kicks. Caleb Downs is there. They don't need him to be over there returning punts. But if Ohio State just wanted to change things up just a little bit, they could. Last year at Alabama, Caleb Downs returned 4 punts. One of them was a touchdown. So it's not like he needs 20 tries to return one or 50 tries to even come close. I mean, he probably would come close, but he had 4 punts and 1 touchdown. I think that speaks about, we see what he does on defense. We hear about how he's been in the RB room in the offseason, and now what is Ryan Day's focus? Fixing things with the return game, but also in that same light, Downs is it needed because there's other guys that can get the job done. Speaking of the RB room, speaking of Ryan Day, speaking of the building of momentum, while building momentum, you want to make sure that you have guys in the right spots. You want to make sure that you have guys in the best area that the team needs them at that point in time. There may be a time down the road where Caleb Downs might be needed in the Buckeyes running back room consistently or playing running back on a Saturday afternoon or evening. That might be something down the road. But as for right now, Ryan Day said that Caleb Downs is focusing on being the best safety in the country. Not the best safety on the team, because when he came in, he was already the best safety on the team. But his focus is being the best safety in the country. And if Ryan Day's focus and the way for him to accomplish that goal is for him to just solely focus on being the best safety and not dabbling in other parts of the team, watch out, people on Ohio State's schedule, people that the Buckeyes meet in the playoff, because I believe the Buckeyes will be in the playoff. Watch out, because through 2 games, Caleb Downs has been very, very good. I don't believe we have seen the best of Caleb Downs yet, which is going to be a lot of fun for us. It's going to be very enjoyable for us to see Caleb Downs and to see him out there roaming the field, and all of a sudden you're like, wait, who is that? Oh, it's number 2. Oh, who made the tackle? Wait, that was a 3-yard loss. Oh, it's number 2. Oh, who made the tackle on the other side of the field? Oh, that was number 2. Why? Because Caleb Downs is just that good. Brian Smith came on the show recently, a few weeks ago, talking about Caleb Downs and talked about how at recruiting camps in high school, they were teaching certain concepts, teaching certain things. Next thing you know, Caleb Downs is coaching the other kids. He's coaching the athletes that he's in this camp with about the thing that the coaches just told them. That's a level of processing that's not normal. 17-year-old, 18-year-old, a 50-year-old. That's not normal. There's just a little bit of special traits and, of course, a special skill set that he has that's not normal. And so with Caleb Downs focusing on being the best safety in the country, that goes back to the defense chasing eliteness. If everybody just focuses on being the best player they can be and being the best in their, maybe for one guy it's the best in the Big Ten. Maybe for somebody else it's the top 5 in their position. Maybe for somebody else it's the best in the country. Okay, maybe it's different standards for different people. But let's just go a step further. Let's just say everyone is focusing at Ohio State, defense, offense, on being the best at their position in the country. And that's not changing their skill set or trying to do things outside of what they're good at. But that's just keeping the standard high. If Will Howard's standard is, hey, I want to be the best quarterback in the country, or Henderson and Judkins saying, I want to be the best running back in the country, or them two together saying, I want to be the best running back duo in the country, if that is their mindset, y'all better watch out. Y'all better be careful, because when you think, oh, this is not their goal, they're going to embarrass you play after play after play. The Buckeyes must continue to be building momentum even when playing another G5 school. And one thing Denzel Burke said, and I'm going to go back to Burke and then close up shop on this here topic on building momentum. Denzel Burke actually mentioned, he said he wished the Buckeyes played a tougher opponent early, and I'm with him. Like, Danny Cannell made a very good point. Talked about it on yesterday's show about, hey, quote, play somebody with a pulse, end quote. That's a very good statement and a valid one. But also, if Washington was on Ohio State's schedule this year, it wouldn't be the Washington of last year. It would be a power 4 school, which does add to the toughness of your schedule. But I still think Washington would get destroyed by Ohio State. But I still think Ohio State, and if you look at their future schedule, the Buckeyes have a home-and-home scheduled with Texas, with Georgia, with Alabama as well. I believe they got a home-and-home schedule with Boston College like in about 10 years from now. No joke. Literally about 10 years from now. So with this year being weak, and there's some obvious reasons that it's weak, it could have been a non-con between Washington and Ohio State schedule for this year and next year, but that's not the case. Okay, it happens. But Ohio State's non-conference schedule is going to be one of the tougher ones in the country because they're playing top 5 schools in the sport. Like, literally, between next year and probably a 6-year span, 7-year span, there may be a gap in between there. You're playing Bama, Georgia, and Texas 2 times apiece. That's insane. Absolutely insane. So I am with Burke here. I do think the Buckeyes should have a tougher non-conference schedule. And let's just say maybe now North Dakota State comes in. South Dakota State comes in. Those are the FCS level schools I would say, hey, Ohio State, bring in here. Not these bottom feeders. None of that stuff. But even then, Ohio State's should destroy them. But that's a more well-respected FCS school at any level. But still, I'm with Burke. I wish, just like Denzel Burke, that Ohio State's non-conference schedule was tougher, a lot tougher every single year. Go out there, play you a Memphis, play you a Tulane. Then you're lumping how tough your non-conference schedule is. Non-conference schedule, it ends tomorrow. And with tomorrow being the last non-conference game with Marshall, let's begin to dive into score predictions and how we think things will go down tomorrow afternoon in the shoe. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then, with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out of market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Many of you are watching the Ohio State Marshall line that comes at the game tomorrow. Currently, Ohio State they're still 39.5-point favorites. The over-under is set at 52.5. That is up 1 point from the 51.5 that the line opened up with. Can't tell you where I'm leaning just yet, but those are the betting lines right now via our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook. But for Sunday Night Football, I am going Bills -4.5 in that matchup on Sunday night with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Simply visit FanDuel.com and download America's #1 sportsbook. Thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen every day. Ohio State's game tomorrow is the final non-conference game on Ohio State's schedule. And in this year, Ohio State has done some phenomenal things. They have not allowed an opponent to score a touchdown in the first 2 games. They have shut out one of those opponents. The first game against Akron, the only points that have been scored on Ohio State at all, 2 field goals. Or excuse me, was it 1 field goal? I forget the final. 2 field goals. So when you look at Ohio State currently, you're thinking, oh, okay, they're really, 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 really good. They have set themselves up in a great way that if they just simply take care of business, nobody can stop them. Nobody can come close to them. And that same thing's going to happen tomorrow. I do think Ohio State will have no issue with Marshall. I know I mentioned that Marshall earlier on, week 1, had 290 passing yards, 5 passing touchdowns. The highlight is they ran up for a total of 406 rushing yards. So that is huge. They almost matched the number of passing yards that Marshall has on the season. The numbers are still a little bit inflated. When they played another power school, they had under 150 rushing yards. They had under 140 passing yards. 131 and 147 were the passing yards and rushing yards respectively for Marshall against Virginia Tech. And I think this is going to be a great barometer about what Ohio State's defense can do tomorrow, because I do think if you look at that, should Ohio State's defense be able to hold Marshall to similar passing yardage? Absolutely. And 0 passing touchdowns? Absolutely. Should Ohio State be able to hold Marshall's rushing attack to under 100 rushing yards? Absolutely. This defense is better than Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech beat Marshall 31-14. And so when you keep all of that stuff in mind, many of us will look at numbers and try to compare Marshall's numbers to Ohio State's numbers and then compare it to what you see on the field. Remember, Ohio State's team is different. Easily better than Virginia Tech. Better than almost every school in the country. And so when it comes to this game tomorrow, I do think the defense allows 0 touchdowns. I don't think Marshall's going to score a touchdown at all. 3 straight opponents that don't score a touchdown for Ohio State. That's huge. I didn't think it's going to be a bold prediction type of segment, but this is what it's going to turn into. I also think that Quinshon Judkins and Trevion Henderson will both score 2 rushing touchdowns tomorrow. I think Judkins is going to be becoming more of his own. I think, honestly, you could find both guys having over 100 rushing yards for the first time in the same game this year. I think this is a part of the building of momentum. You get your starting left guard back. Your center, right guard, right tackle have more continuity, more chemistry than they did before the season. You also have guys in Hensman and Sareveld that are quality backups. So if something crazy happens, if somebody gets hurt, there could be a shuffling of the offensive line, but you still expect that bad boy to stay moving like it was previously. It might be a little slow when the newcomer comes onto the field, but trust me, that train is going to keep on moving and keep on keeping that same steam it's been having the entire time. Will Howard, I haven't really touched on Will Howard much like I did earlier, because I think Will Howard is just going to have one of those games where he lets things come to him. I'm thinking he will not have a rushing touchdown tomorrow. Will have a couple passing touchdowns. So I do think, excuse me. I think he's going to have a passing touchdown, but I don't think it's going to be one of those areas where you're going to find Ohio State needing him to pass the ball. So with that in mind, I do think that kind of dictates a little bit about Ohio State this weekend. Like I said, it wouldn't shock me if Denzel Burke had a pick six, and it would not shock me if Cody Simon has a scoop and score. Those are a couple things that are in my mind right now, just thinking like, hey, I think these things can happen. But realistically, I think the defense does score a touchdown tomorrow. I'm not trying to gauge how many touchdowns Will Howard's going to have, but I do expect the defense to have a touchdown tomorrow. Who will it be? You heard my top two options, but I'm not exactly sure which guy it's going to be. I know I said a lot there, a lot more than normal in the final segment before a college football Saturday begins. But my final score prediction, and I've kind of gone back and forth with this one, Ohio State 45, Marshall 6. This is one that even on tomorrow, we're going to do a game day pod tomorrow, that if I do reserve the right to change this score, because even as I say it right now, not really comfortable with Ohio State scoring under 50 points. I am not. Because as I was saying it, I thought Henderson 2, Judkins 2, that's 28. As I said it at the time, you got Howard with 2 passing touchdowns. That's 42 points. And if my gut is telling me that I think Ohio State's going to have a defensive touchdown, that's 49 points. The issue is I just don't know how much Ohio State's going to lean on Will Howard's arm tomorrow, if they will need him to, which is why I was saying I am not really sure about what exactly is going to happen tomorrow with Will Howard. And it's not because I think Will Howard's not a good quarterback. It's just I think that, well, things will just dictate the way that he's going. But I am going to change this very quickly. I am going to go Ohio State 52, kicking one field goal there. Buckeyes 52 and Marshall 6. I could not go any further without updating this here right in front of you, because 3 straight games scoring 50-plus points. It's a G5 school. It should happen. The defense not allowing a touchdown. That should happen. And I just can't wait to see this team play tomorrow. I can't at all. What are your final thoughts? What's your score prediction as I'm updating mine literally as we speak? What is your score prediction tomorrow for Ohio State? Do you think Ohio State is going to blow Marshall out? Do you think Marshall is going to make this thing a game? Do you think that Marshall is going to be a team? That's the final score prediction there for everyone on YouTube. Ohio State 52, Marshall 6. Do you think it's going to be one of those games where Ohio State struggles early and then just kind of breaks away late? What do you think? I am leaning more towards a faster start like they had against Western Michigan. I am leaning for the Buckeyes to lean on the running game to kind of send a message. Hey, we know the defensive front is good, it's solid, but we're still going to impose our will on them all game long. Are you cool with Will Howard not really being a bigger piece of his arm for the Buckeyes offense? Got questions to answer? Answer them right now in the YouTube comment section of this show. I do think Buckeyes 52, Marshall 6. I kind of went back and forth with that. I am going Ohio State minus 39.5 with that game tomorrow as well. I'm not a betting man. I have the FanDuel Sportsbook app to help keep all of us in tapped into what FanDuel is doing with the betting lines. I am not a betting man. I used to did it a little baby bets. Those baby bets are long gone. 52-6, Ohio State beats Marshall. They go 3-0 at the end of their non-conference schedule. They're preparing for a primetime matchup with Michigan State on the Peacock. Thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen today. Now, for your second listen, go check out Locked On College Football. From NIL deals to never-ending conference realignment rumors, Spencer McLaughlin gets you ready for an exciting season on the gridiron. Find Locked On College Football on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow me on Twitter at jstevens07. Follow the show on Twitter at LO Buckeyes, and every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. Buckeye fans, it's a feel-good Friday. We're out of here tomorrow. Tomorrow's game day. Let's get ready to enjoy it.